She stood in court, tears streaming down her face, calling me dangerous. But what no one knew, what even she had forgotten, was that our daughter had been recording everything. Betrayed by my wife, hunted in court, and branded unfit to raise my child, I stayed silent. Because in a world of lies, patience isn't weakness, it's the sharpest weapon. If you've ever had to fight silently for the truth or protect someone you love when no one believed you, share your story below. Your voice might help someone else feel less alone. My name is Wade Thompson. I'm 41 years old, and this is the story of how I used everything the Army taught me, not for war, but to protect my daughter from betrayal. The Permian Basin teaches you things about patience that most men never learn. When you're supervising pipeline crews in 110-degree heat, watching million-dollar equipment move crude oil through unforgiving terrain, you understand the rushing kills. One wrong move, one moment of impatience, and you've got environmental disasters that make headlines for months. I'd been working the oil fields for 15 years, ever since my Army discharge. 8 years as a combat engineer in Iraq and Afghanistan had given me skills that translated perfectly to industrial supervision. Reading terrain, managing personnel under stress, and most importantly, staying calm when everything around you wants to explode. My crew respected me because I never asked them to do anything I wouldn't do myself. Whether it was crawling through pipeline inspection tunnels or working 18-hour shifts during emergency repairs, I was there. Boots on the ground, hands dirty, leading from the front. That's how you build loyalty in the oil patch. You earn it one shift at a time. Sierra never understood that world. She saw my work clothes, heard my stories about equipment failures and safety protocols, but she lived in a different universe. Air-conditioned offices, client lunches, legal briefs that never got her hands dirty. As a personal injury lawyer specializing in worker compensation cases, she made decent money representing guys like my crew when they got hurt on the job. The irony wasn't lost on me. She built her career defending roughnecks and pipeline workers, but she'd never spent a day in their world. Never felt the bone-deep exhaustion of a 14-hour shift. Never understood why we trusted each other with our lives every single day. Riley was different. Our 9-year-old daughter had inherited something from both of us, my methodical nature and Sierra's sharp intelligence. She asked questions about everything: how pipeline pressure worked, why we wore safety equipment, what made some crews better than others. When I had custody weekends, she'd sit in my truck while I handled emergency calls, watching how I talked to the crews, how I solved problems. "Daddy, why do you always check everything twice?" she had asked me just last month. Because in my world, sweetheart, mistakes don't just cost money, they can cost lives. So we do things right the first time, every time. She'd nodded seriously, like she was filing that information away for later use. Riley was always watching, always learning. It's a trait that would serve her well in the months ahead. The first sign something was wrong came on a Tuesday evening in March. I'd just finished a brutal day at the Beaumont refinery site, a valve failure that had kept my crew working since 4 a.m. to prevent a shutdown. My steel-toed Red Wings were caked with Permian Basin crude and drilling mud, my coveralls stained with hydraulic fluid and sweat. When I walked into our house near Humble, I found muddy work boots sitting by the front door. Not mine, these were clean Timberlands, the kind construction supervisors wear when they want to look important at job sites. The treads still held fresh concrete dust and red clay that didn't come from any refinery I knew. Sierra's voice drifted from the kitchen. "Wade, you're home early." "Wrapped up the Beaumont emergency ahead of schedule," I called back, studying those boots. "Whose are these?" "Oh, those belong to a client, Lance Cooper from Cooper Construction. He stopped by to drop off some documents for his workers' comp case. He didn't want to track mud through the house." Reasonable explanation, thoughtful even, but something felt off. I'd been married to Sierra for 12 years, and I knew her tells better than safety protocols. She was using her courtroom voice, too precise, too practiced. "He's still here?" "No, he left about 20 minutes ago. Had to get back to a job site." I walked into the kitchen where Sierra stood by the counter, sorting through legal files. Her hair looked freshly brushed, her lipstick recently applied. For a woman who'd supposedly been working alone all day, she looked remarkably put together. "How's the case going?" I asked, opening a beer from the refrigerator. "Complex. Multiple safety violations, disputed liability. Lance's company is fighting the claim hard." She gathered the papers into a neat stack. He's actually quite knowledgeable about construction safety. Military background, like you. The comparison hit wrong. Sierra rarely drew parallels between me and her clients. She kept those worlds deliberately separate. What branch? Marines, I think. He mentioned serving in Afghanistan around the same time you were there. Small world, the military community. But I didn't recognize the name Lance Cooper, and Marines in Afghanistan were usually memorable. We worked closely with Marine engineering units on several projects. Still, thousands of guys cycled through that theater. I filed the information away and grabbed dinner from the refrigerator, cold fried chicken and potato salad, Sierra's go-to meal when she'd been too busy to cook, or too distracted. Over the next 2 weeks, those boots appeared 3 more times. Always. On days when I was working late shifts at remote sites, the Katy pipeline extension, the Baytown refinery upgrade, emergency repairs near Galveston Bay. Always with the same explanation, Lance Cooper, dropping off documents, being considerate about mud. But considerate men don't usually need to visit their lawyers' homes after business hours, and they definitely don't need to do it when the husband is conveniently absent. I started paying closer attention. Sierra's behavior had shifted in subtle ways that most husbands might miss, but I'd been trained to notice pattern changes. In combat zones, survival depends on recognizing when normal becomes abnormal, when routine becomes suspicious. She was showering more frequently, sometimes twice a day, always immediately after coming home from client meetings. Her phone was constantly face down during dinner, buzzing with notifications she'd quickly silence. New jewelry had appeared, a diamond tennis bracelet, matching earrings, a Cartier watch that cost more than most pipeline workers made in 6 months. When I complimented the bracelet, Sierra had a ready explanation. Bonus from the Morrison case settlement. The client was extremely grateful. I knew the Morrison case, a welder who'd lost 3 fingers in an industrial accident. Good settlement, but Sierra's cut wouldn't cover jewelry that expensive. Not unless she had additional income streams I didn't know about. The Army had taught me that intelligence gathering was 90% patience and 10% knowing where to look. So, I started looking in places Sierra wouldn't expect. Credit card statements told the first part of the story. Dinner charges at high-end restaurants downtown, always for 2 people, always during my offshore rotation shifts. Parking fees near the financial district, where construction companies headquartered their operations. Hotel charges at the Four Seasons and the Post Oak, billed when I was supposedly working 18-hour emergency repairs. I cross-referenced her calendar with the charges. Every late client meeting corresponded to expensive dinners. Every weekend deposition prep matched hotel bookings. The pattern was clear, methodical, damning, but I needed more than financial records. In the oil field, you don't make accusations without solid evidence. Speculation gets people fired, facts get problems solved. I started documenting everything with the same precision I used for safety reports. Photos of the mysterious boots, timestamps of Sierra's arrivals and departures, recordings of her phone conversations when she thought I was sleeping. Modern surveillance technology made it easier than ever to gather intelligence, especially when the target didn't suspect they were being watched. The breakthrough came during my investigation of Lance Cooper himself. A simple internet search revealed Cooper Construction's website, featuring glossy photos of luxury commercial projects. Across Houston. Lance's bio described him as a visionary developer with extensive military experience and a commitment to excellence. What caught my attention was the client testimonials page. Several quotes from satisfied customers, including one from a personal injury law firm. Lance Cooper delivered exceptional results on our office renovation project. His attention to detail and professional integrity exceeded our expectations. Martinez, Rodriguez, and Associates. That was Shane Martinez's firm, Sierra's biggest competitor in the workers' comp field. I dug deeper into Lance's background, using skills learned during military intelligence training. Property records showed he owned a $2.3 million mansion in River Oaks, 3 commercial buildings downtown, and a weekend house in Galveston. His business had grown rapidly over the past 5 years, landing major contracts with energy companies and municipal projects. But success in construction often comes with shortcuts, and shortcuts create vulnerabilities. I started researching Cooper Construction's safety record, regulatory compliance, and business practices. What I found was a company that had been remarkably lucky avoiding serious OSHA violations, the kind of luck that usually meant someone was looking the other way. Then I found the connection I'd been looking for. Buried in public records, I discovered that Cooper Construction had been the defendant in 17 worker compensation claims over the past 3 years. Of those 17 cases, 12 had been settled out of court for undisclosed amounts. The representing attorney in all 12 settlements, Sierra Thompson, Esquire. Sierra hadn't just been sleeping with a client. She'd been systematically settling cases against him for amounts that likely saved his company millions in potential judgments. And based on her new jewelry collection, she'd been compensated very well for her cooperation. I sat in my truck outside the Pasadena refinery at 2 a.m., staring at the evidence I'd compiled: phone records, financial statements, public court documents, surveillance photos. Everything pointed to a conspiracy that went far beyond a simple affair. Sierra wasn't just cheating on me. She was committing legal malpractice on a massive scale, betraying her own clients to protect her lover's business interests. Workers who'd been genuinely injured on Cooper construction sites were getting settlements far below what they deserved, while Sierra and Lance profited from their suffering. That revelation changed everything. This wasn't just about a marriage falling apart. This was about justice being corrupted, about working men being cheated out of fair compensation for injuries that would affect them for life. I thought about my crew, guys who trusted me to keep them safe, who relied on people like Sierra to protect them when safety systems failed. They deserved better than lawyers who sold them out for expensive jewelry and hotel room encounters. The Army had taught me that some battles are worth fighting not because you want to, but because no one else can. This was one of those battles. On a Thursday evening in April, I decided to stop watching and start acting. Sierra had texted me that she'd be working late on a complex deposition, but her credit card had just charged dinner for 2 at Brennan's on Smith Street, the same restaurant where she'd had 3 previous business meetings with Lance Cooper. I came home early from the Netherland pipeline inspection, parking my F-350 2 blocks away and approaching the house on foot. Military habits die hard, and reconnaissance is always better when the target doesn't know you're coming. Sierra's Lexus sat in the driveway next to a black F-250 King Ranch with chrome running boards and custom wheels. The license plate read Cooper 1, subtle as a drilling rig in a flower garden. The front door was unlocked. Inside, jazz played softly from our kitchen speaker system. Miles Davis, the same album Sierra put on when she wanted to create atmosphere. Those familiar Timberland boots sat by the door, but this time they were accompanied by women's heels I recognized as Sierra's work shoes. I didn't storm upstairs. 8 years of combat engineering had taught me that patience was deadlier than rage, and intelligence gathering required discipline. I took out my phone, activated the recording app, and climbed the stairs with the stealth of a man who'd once cleared houses in Fallujah. The bedroom door was cracked open. Voices drifted through. Sierra's laugh, followed by a man's voice I didn't recognize. I positioned myself where I could capture clear audio without being seen, and listened to my wife of 12 years destroy our marriage one whispered conversation at a time. The Martinez case is settled, Sierra was saying. $200,000 instead of the $800 they were asking for. Your insurance company will be very happy. You're worth every penny I pay you, Lance replied. Your husband has no idea how talented his wife really is. Wade thinks in straight lines. Military training, everything has to be by the book, follow protocol, honor, and integrity. She laughed, but it sounded bitter. He'd never understand that sometimes you have to be flexible to get ahead in this world. I recorded for exactly 3 minutes, capturing enough conversation to document their professional conspiracy along with personal betrayal. Then I walked away, leaving them to continue their celebration of my ignorance. I waited downstairs in the living room, sitting in my reading chair like I'd just arrived home from work. The house felt different now, not like a sanctuary, but like a crime scene I was documenting for future reference. An hour later, they came downstairs together. Sierra froze when she saw me, color draining from her face like oil from a cracked pipeline. Lance, on the other hand, grinned with the easy confidence of a man who'd never faced real consequences for his actions. Wade, he said, extending a hand I didn't accept. Good to finally meet you, Sierra's told me so much about you. I looked him straight in the eye with the same expression I wore when firing incompetent crew members. You have no idea what I'm capable of providing, Lance, but you will. Sierra tried to salvage the situation with explanations about case strategy and client consultations, but I was already walking toward the door. The Houston heat hit my skin like steam from a relief valve. My pulse didn't spike. My hands didn't shake. This wasn't the moment I lost everything. It was the moment I chose not to lose control. Because Wade Thompson didn't go to war without a plan, and tonight, a new campaign had just begun. I drove to my temporary apartment near the ship channel, a place I'd rented months earlier when Sierra's behavior first started changing. Good operational security meant having backup positions, and I'd learned that lesson in places where poor planning got people killed. From my laptop, I began researching Lance Cooper with the systematic thoroughness of a safety inspector documenting violations. Property records, business licenses, insurance claims, regulatory filings. I mapped his entire professional life like a pipeline engineer surveying new terrain. What I discovered was a company built on cutting corners and buying silence. Cooper Construction had been involved in 23 workplace accidents over 5 years, with an injury rate triple the industry average. But their OSHA fines were remarkably light, their insurance premiums suspiciously low, and their legal settlements consistently below market value. Sierra wasn't just sleeping with a client. She was the linchpin in a system designed to cheat injured workers out of fair compensation. Every settlement she negotiated saved Lance millions while leaving damaged men without adequate medical coverage or disability payments. That night, I made a decision that would have seemed impossible 12 hours earlier. I was going to destroy them both, not out of anger or jealousy, but as a matter of justice. Workers like my crew deserved lawyers who fought for them, not attorneys who sold them out for expensive jewelry and hotel room encounters. The Army had taught me that complex operations required careful planning, multiple contingencies, and absolute patience. You don't win wars with emotional reactions. You win them by systematically eliminating enemy capabilities while protecting your own assets. My most valuable asset was Riley. Whatever else happened in the coming months, I had to ensure my daughter remained safe, protected from the chaos about to engulf her mother's carefully constructed world. The war was beginning, but this time I wasn't fighting for territory or tactical advantage. I was fighting for something more important than military objectives. I was fighting for truth. By Monday morning, Sierra had retained Shane Martinez, Houston's most aggressive family law attorney. His reputation was built on courtroom theatrics and scorched earth tactics. The kind of lawyer who turned divorce proceedings into public spectacles designed to humiliate opposing parties into submission. Their strategy was predictable but effective. Paint me as an unstable veteran with anger management issues, suffering from unaddressed PTSD, unable to separate military mindset from civilian life. A dangerous man hiding behind medals and steady employment, prone to violent outbursts and psychological manipulation. Within a week, the court filings were thick with accusations. Sierra claimed I had monitored her every move for years, that I used my industrial experience to intimidate clients and colleagues. She described me as emotionally distant, unpredictable, obsessed with control. Martinez introduced fabricated evidence, text messages I'd never sent, voicemails spliced together to suggest threatening behavior. They submitted a photo of my field notebook, claiming the safety inspection notes were tactical surveillance observations. A picture of my gun safe became evidence of weapons stockpiling. Even my emergency preparedness supplies, standard for anyone who'd lived through Hurricane Harvey, were presented as proof of paranoid behavior. The narrative was carefully crafted fiction, but it carried weight because it fed on stereotypes about military veterans. Sierra testified with practiced precision, her voice trembling in all the right places, as she described living in fear of a husband she no longer recognized. Lance sat behind her during hearings, playing the role of supportive new partner, but I saw through the performance. They thought they were clever, using public prejudice against combat veterans to steal my daughter and destroy my reputation. What they didn't realize was that I'd already begun my counteroffensive. While Sierra and Martinez flooded the courtroom with lies, I launched a campaign they wouldn't recognize until it was too late. My first target was Lance himself, and I knew exactly where to hit him. His greed. Using skills learned in Army intelligence operations, I created 3 false business identities, shell companies specializing in energy sector construction projects. Each identity had bulletproof documentation, business licenses, insurance policies, bank references, even LinkedIn profiles with industry connections. The bait was irresistible. A $3.2 million pipeline housing development in Midland, requiring specialized construction expertise and fast-track completion. Each of my fictional companies approached Lance separately, creating the illusion of competing for his services while actually driving him toward financial overextension. Lance bit harder than a rookie roughneck on his first dangerous assignment. He shifted focus, from legitimate projects to chase my phantom contracts, borrowing against existing assets to demonstrate financial capacity. He hired architects for blueprints that would never be built, purchased equipment for projects that existed only in carefully crafted emails. I documented every move through surveillance that would make any industrial security team proud. His financial records, business communications, even GPS tracking from his company vehicles, all of it flowing through monitoring systems I'd installed with the same precision used for pipeline integrity inspections. But the psychological warfare was just beginning. Through my connections in industrial safety, former Army engineers who now worked for OSHA, state regulatory agencies, and insurance companies, I began feeding anonymous tips about Cooper Construction. Nothing fabricated, just thorough investigations of existing conditions that had been overlooked for years. Suddenly, Lance's job sites were getting surprise inspections. Safety violations that had been ignored were being documented and fined. His insurance premiums skyrocketed as claims adjusters discovered patterns of negligence. Major contracts began canceling due to regulatory concerns and liability issues. The beauty of the operation was its complete legitimacy. I wasn't creating false violations. I was simply ensuring that real problems received appropriate attention. Lance's company had been cutting safety corners for years, and now those shortcuts were being systematically exposed. Meanwhile, I turned my attention to Sierra's professional vulnerabilities. Her law practice depended on reputation and client trust, both of which could be damaged by careful application of pressure. I began nominating her anonymously for awards she'd never heard of, arranging fake interviews with legal publications, sending inquiries from non-existent Manhattan firms about partnership opportunities. Sierra's ego expanded like gas under pressure, and she started making promises she couldn't keep. She took on cases beyond her experience level, spent money on office renovations and marketing campaigns, even hired additional staff she couldn't afford. Her caseload ballooned as she tried to project success, but the quality of her work declined proportionally. Most importantly, I planted just enough information to breed suspicion between them. A private investigator's business card in Lance's truck console, fake receipts in Sierra's purse, suggesting she'd purchased surveillance equipment, emails in Lance's inbox hinting that Sierra was cooperating with federal investigators looking into construction industry fraud. The paranoia spread like cracks in a faulty pipeline. Sierra found the PI's card and panicked. Was Lance investigating her? Lance discovered the surveillance receipts and grew suspicious. Was Sierra gathering evidence against him? They began questioning each other's motives, hiding phones, changing passwords. Their alliance, built on mutual betrayal and financial corruption, started fracturing under manufactured pressure. Sierra wondered if Lance was using her for legal protection, while planning to discard her when investigations intensified. Lance suspected Sierra was positioning herself to avoid prosecution by cooperating with authorities. I didn't have to say a word. The doubt between them created its own momentum, like a safety system failure that cascades through interconnected systems until everything shuts down. All the while, Riley stayed with me during custody weekends, completely shielded from the war unfolding around her mother's crumbling world. From my apartment near the ship channel, I monitored their complete unraveling through surveillance systems that would impress any industrial security operation. Their relationship was collapsing faster than a compromised pipeline under pressure. Sierra's phone calls revealed mounting panic about her career and finances. Lance's business communications showed a company hemorrhaging contracts and facing regulatory shutdown. Their arguments grew louder, more desperate. more personal with each recorded conversation. The breaking point came in late July. Lance's phantom development deals had bled him completely dry, forcing him to mortgage his River Oaks mansion and liquidate business assets. With nowhere else to turn, he pressed Sierra for a temporary business loan to cover operational costs until his fictional contracts materialized. Sierra, already struggling with her own financial crisis and declining client base, saw it as attempted theft. The fight was spectacular, screaming about money, lies, manipulation, using each other for personal gain. Sierra accused Lance of financial fraud. Lance fired back that everything she had was built on destroying innocent families. Their final confrontation was everything I could have hoped for. Sierra called police, claiming Lance had threatened her and attempted to steal legal documents. Lance countered that Sierra had been embezzling client settlement funds. Both accusations contained enough truth to ensure serious investigations. The incident report was filed within hours. I downloaded it from public records that same night, adding it to my comprehensive documentation of their systematic collapse. Lance Cooper was officially finished. His construction company faced federal investigation, OSHA shutdown, and bankruptcy proceedings. Sierra Thompson was spiraling toward professional ruin and criminal prosecution, and I had orchestrated their destruction without firing a single shot. The courtroom was dead silent as Sierra finished her testimony about living in fear of her dangerous ex-husband. She'd played her role perfectly. The terrified mother, the concerned professional, the woman who just wanted to protect her daughter from a man she no longer recognized. Martinez leaned into every word, describing me as an unstable veteran who couldn't distinguish between combat zones and custody hearings. He warned of invisible psychological damage from classified operations, cited PTSD statistics, and painted me as a man who treated his own family like enemy combatants. Judge Paige Turner flipped through her notes, nodding thoughtfully. She looked toward the defense table where my attorney, Brooke Mitchell, sat with remarkable calm. "Ms. Mitchell, do you have a defense to present?" Brooke stood slowly, her voice measured and professional. "Your Honor, my client believes someone else in this courtroom would like to speak on his behalf." Judge Turner raised an eyebrow. "I'm sorry. His daughter, Riley Thompson, has asked to address the court." Martinez shot to his feet. "Your Honor, this child has been manipulated for months. This is completely inappropriate." Judge Turner lifted her hand, cutting him off. "Mr. Martinez, I'll decide what's appropriate." She looked directly at me. "Mr. Thompson, would you like your daughter to speak?" Riley stood from the front row, 9 years old, small for her age, but standing with the confidence of someone who'd learned that truth was stronger than lies. She clutched her school tablet in both hands. "Yes, Your Honor, I have something to show you." The courtroom held its breath. Riley walked to the bench and handed Judge Turner her tablet. She tapped the screen once and stepped back. Audio filled the room with crystal clarity. It began with Riley's young voice. "Mommy, why do you always cry when you come home from Mr. Lance's office?" Sierra's voice followed, strained but unmistakably clear. "I'm not crying, sweetheart. Mommy's just tired. But Mr. Lance makes you sad, and he says mean things about Daddy." A pause, then Riley again. "Yesterday I heard you tell Mr. Lance that you're going to make sure Daddy never sees me again, even if you have to lie about him being scary." Sierra's response was calculated, cold, undeniable. "Riley, you shouldn't listen to grown-up conversations." "But Mommy, why would you lie?" Another pause, then Sierra's voice, crystal clear. "Sometimes we have to say things that aren't completely true to protect the people we love. You'll understand when you're older." Riley's voice remained steady. "But Daddy says lying is always wrong. Even when it's hard, we should tell the truth." The recording continued with devastating precision. Sierra coaching Riley on what to tell court psychologists. Planning with Lance how to make me appear unstable. Her voice stating clearly, "If we play this right, the judge will think he's dangerous. We just need a few good tears and the rest falls into place." The silence that followed was absolute. No whispers, no movement, only the weight of truth filling a courtroom built on Sierra's lies. Judge Turner turned slowly to Riley. "Where did you get this recording, young lady?" Riley answered with quiet confidence, "I recorded it on my tablet. Daddy taught me that if someone is doing something wrong, you should keep evidence. He said the truth always wins if you're patient enough." And how long have you been doing this? Since Mommy started acting different, since she started lying about Daddy. Riley looked directly at her mother, with the same steady gaze I'd seen her use when asking difficult questions about pipeline safety. I love you, Mommy, but I can't live with someone who lies. Daddy never lies. He tells me the truth, even when it's hard. Judge Turner's voice cut through the silence. I am granting full legal and physical custody of Riley Thompson to her father, effective immediately. Furthermore, I am ordering criminal investigations into both plaintiffs for perjury, witness tampering, and conspiracy to commit fraud. 6 months later, Sierra lost her law license permanently. Lance was sentenced to federal prison for construction fraud and OSHA violations that had injured dozens of workers. Justice had been served not through violence or revenge, but through patience, truth, and the courage of a 9-year-old girl who understood that lies always collapse under their own weight. The truth had won, and sometimes that's all the victory you need.